Hey everybody, it's me again. I'm back. Kind of a more informative video, not much of an update. So I'm finally going to spill it how I'm doing this, what my game plan is, how I got to where I am, and how I'm going to get to where I should be. So this whole interest in studying abroad just started with the whole concept of not being able to do much as a dreamer living in the United States. My financial situation was very limited. I mean, I feel like I really feel like I could have gotten a good deal of scholarships if I had met the eligibility requirements for the scholarships that they were granting, but unfortunately I didn't. I mean, if you are a dreamer in the United States, your best bet with scholarships would be private scholarships. Private scholarships tend to be a lot less lenient on what their qualifications are in regards to citizenship and nationality. They tend to be a less amount of money, but if you can get several private scholarships under your belt, then you're good to go. Another reason why is just the fact that after I obtain a diploma from university, from whatever I studied, it's not very sure that I will be able to practice what I studied for because of my legal situation. Starting high school, I started to look outside of the country. I knew I wasn't going to be able to do much here, so I started to look elsewhere. First stop, Mexico. I started to look at universities here in Mexico, how the whole job situation was. Job-wise, it's not bad, but they don't pay very well, I guess you could say. The only problem is I don't know, I don't really identify with the country very much. And it sounds kind of bad for me to say it, but it's, in all honesty, I don't really identify with Mexico very much other than what I was taught as a child. It's not really my home country, even though it is. It's almost like if I were adopted by the United States. Adopted, and I really grew up to like the country, and then, you know, my biological country comes along and I'm kind of like, I don't really know you very well, so I can't really sympathize with you very much other than be grateful for having been born in such a wonderful country. Mexico's not number one on my list. Second, I started looking at the UK. The UK had been on my top 1 list freshman year. I started really looking into it. I even made my own email account for looking into schools over there and everything. And I contacted universities. Like, I know I did contact the University of Brighton. I was like emailing them and stuff. The only problem is that it's pretty expensive to go to school over there, and also living expenses are expensive as well. So just those two don't really mix. I mean, I did lay out my financial plan, and it would have required me to take probably like 4 gap years, and that's not very good after high school. It's not very good. I was motivated, but it's not very good. So unfortunately I crossed that one off my list. And then I looked at France. I'm like, wait, how ignorant of me. Like, I know this language and I haven't looked into the country. And so I looked into France, and I looked at the cost of education. Good. Living expenses, workable. It's promising. It was promising, and I was like, whoa, like, why didn't I think of this sooner? It was one of those points where I felt like my life just kind of came together, as in I had studied French. I didn't have very much interest in French originally. I took French high school, and I chose it as one of my electives for freshman year, and I was just like, okay, whatever, I'll do it. Then I just kind of grew to like the language, and I met a very good friend of mine that lives in Paris online on this broadcasting website called YouNow. If you're really into YouTube, then you probably know what YouNow is. It's where YouTubers go on there and broadcast, talk with their viewers. I originally downloaded to watch one of my favorite YouTubers, Ben Brown. Like, he's gonna broadcast here. This is pretty cool. Downloaded it, and there were a bunch of channels, and there was one French channel. It's like, this is where I have to go. And that's why I went with my friend. he had an interest in violin, and Lindsey Sterling, I'm a violinist. He had a violin he can't touch because he doesn't know how to play, so I'm like, hey, you teach me French, I'll teach you violin. That exchange of knowledge was really something beautiful, so shout out to Morgan. Salut Morgan. A really big shout out to Morgan because he really paved the way for me with French. He's a great guy too. I'll put a link for his YouTube channel in the description. He has a lot of pretty cool video game, instrumental soundtracks, pretty cool. That paved a huge path for me because once you're immersed in the language that you've learned, everything just throws itself together. Like the language just kind of like flows out of me like nothing now. So on to French, school in France, how I did it. So once I started investigating this, I was looking at schools in France and they required me to go on this website called Campus France. Campus France has several locations around the world. Actually, they have several here in Mexico and just one in the United States. If you live in the United States, go to the Campus France website for the United States, which I'll put somewhere in this video or down in the description. Check it out if you're interested in studying abroad in France. They really simplify the process. They made it pretty easy for me, even though it was a complicated and lengthy process, but they really just kind of pieced it together for you a little bit more. The personnel are very helpful, very good people too. I got into contact with the Mexican one for my region. So I contacted mine and they were really understanding. In the US, I had to do it in Mexico because in the US they didn't really understand what DACA was, even though with DACA you are allowed to study abroad for like a couple months. Me wanting to, you know, get my whole bachelor's, I'm like, hey, you know, I'm gonna have to do it. I contacted the Mexican Campus France location, Guadalajara. Very helpful guy, very, very helpful. And he walked me through the steps. It took him a while to email me back sometimes, but he always had the answer ready for when he emailed me. Really made the process a lot more simple. Campus France, please check it out if you're interested in studying in France. All of the information you need is on Campus France. They give you the schools, they give you everything. You make your portfolio once you're actually considering it seriously. Make your portfolio on there and you're good to go. Now for the requirements. One of the principal requirements is that you have at least an advanced knowledge of the French language. I, for one, had to go to Pasadena to take my French fluency test, which was the DELF B2. Level B2 is intermediate advanced level, and that's the minimum. And that, I mean, it took me about 3 years to get to that level, if not more. Unless you're like extremely good with languages and you study every single hour of the day, less than a year. And that's probably one of the principal ones. That's the ones that they kind of really look at, because if you're gonna study in France, they want you to know what you're studying, right? And in all aspects of it. Also, living expenses. Living expenses in France are pretty high. Like, I saved up all of my money. I calculated all of my finances pretty strategically. I did a thing called financial rationing when I was working, which is pretty crazy. Financial rationing, where I spend the least amount of money I can, and I only spend it on stuff that are absolutely necessary. So like my phone for work, my car insurance, gas, helping out at home, yeah, those kinds of things. Plan on having a good amount of money to leave, because they check that at the consulate. When you're getting your visa, they check that you have the adequate amount of finances, and actually they need a guardian to provide their bank information and to, you know, so that they have a more reliable source of income and not just you. So try to work that out with a family member, a parent, guardian. But yeah, once you're kind of in the middle of everything, actually before you apply to all of your schools, there's an interviewing process that happens where you are interviewed by Campus France. and you know, they just kind of write a bunch of information down and add that to your portfolio, so be ready for that. I've already been accepted. My next step right now is getting my visa. I'm heading to Mexico City, like I told you guys in my last video. I'm heading to Mexico City to get my student visa. I really hope it goes well. But yeah, make sure you're ready, and it's a really big endeavor. I'm gonna be alone for a couple of years. I might go cuckoo. I'm gonna try to stay on YouTube just so I don't go insane. Once I get back from my visa appointment, or once I hear back from them, I'll make another one of these videos to explain the entire process up to then. Not the entire process, but kind of where I'm at. And I'm going to start making some vlogs in these coming days, like actual vlogs where I walk around and show you guys something. Not just me sitting here in my living room doing nothing and just talking. It's kind of boring, but I want to make this as informative as possible to help as many people as I can. So, without further ado, I'm going to head out. I wish you guys the best in whatever you're doing. And like I say, and like I want you guys to always do, keep dreaming. Peace.